Hello, and welcome back to my take. Dune Part 2 has been out for a little while now, so I'm very late to the party in terms of sharing my thoughts on this movie. But as it's been out a while, I thought it made sense for me to share my more detailed thoughts on the movie's themes, ideas, and overall quality. So, as expected, spoilers ahead. Now, before we begin, for clarification, I have yet to read the Dune books, so I can't comment on how accurately they have been adapted. But I think this opens up an equally interesting point of discussion, which is as someone who isn't already familiar with the material, does this movie make sense and work? Now, Dune Part 1 was a movie upon my first viewing I found to be slow and confusing, and with my attention only really being grasped in the final act when Paul meets the Fremen. For me, the ending of the first film left me wanting to see where this story went next. So, even upon my first viewing, I considered the first film to overall work, and it wasn't until rewatching it again that I was properly able to appreciate it for its exceptional ability to lay the groundwork for the story to come. And since watching the second movie, I've come to appreciate the first one far more. But that's enough about the first film. I can discuss that in depth at a later date. Dune Part 2 was for me in every way an improvement over the first movie. The plot's pacing is much more succinct, and as a result, Dune Part 2 remains an engaging watch throughout. The softer moments of stillness linger long enough to be calming, but never too long to become boring. The action sequences are lengthy enough to get the adrenaline rushing, but never too long that they become stale. And I must add, the action is excellently choreographed, with the standout for me being the knife fight near the very end between Paul and Phaedra the Harkonnen. I think I've pronounced that right. The themes of this movie are much clearer as well, and to my understanding, by extension, the themes of the whole Dune franchise. As mentioned before, Dune Part 1 felt so focused on setting up this crazy sci fi world that it lacked a clear message of what the story was about, in my opinion. Whereas this movie is deep enough into the source material now that it can really start to explore the themes that underlie this franchise. And for me, the central theme of Dune Part 2 is the danger and power of belief. Belief is what divides the world of Dune. We see this excellently in the divisions within the Fremen, between those who believe Paul to be the Lisan al Gaib, this being the Fremen term for prophet or messiah, and those who don't believe him to be this. The belief in Paul is a tool weaponized by his mother, Lady Jessica, in order for her to gain power and influence, and ultimately, the Fremen who do believe in Paul lead Paul to believe himself to be the Lisan al Gaib, and in the process, the film maps the very early stages of his seeming rise to tyranny. The film maps this excellently via Timothy Chalamet's performance, who progressively becomes more commanding and gains a stronger and stronger screen presence as the movie goes on, mapping his growing confidence in himself and his power. Manipulation of belief as a way of harvesting power is explored too, with the Bene Gesserit being revealed in this film to be pulling the strings across the galaxy, raising interesting questions about the power that belief can have. Performance-wise, every actor brings their A-game to this movie, with the standouts for me being Rebecca Ferguson as Lady Jessica and Austin Butler, who really steals the show as the villainous warrior Phaedra the Harkonnen. And of course, the chemistry between Timothy Chalamet's Paul and Zendaya's Shani is excellent. In terms of cinematography, this is one of the prettiest films I've ever watched, and it is a real visual treat for the eye to behold. Denis Villeneuve, I think I've pronounced that right again, all these bloody names, has made a real career out of this at this point, with the first Dune and Blade Runner 2049 being notable mentions for this quality amongst his work. The movie's cinematography, combined with Hans Zimmer's superb soundtrack, is able to create an incredibly powerful experience, with these two filmmaking elements combining together to make both moments of action and the moments of quiet really stay with you. Dune Part 2 has every right to be deemed a masterpiece, and I remain very excited to see what Dune Part 3 brings to our screens in the future. Now, I fully intend to make a video in which I break down this film and the first film in more detail. However, I want to read the book first before doing so expect a video about that one day in the future. I think the Dune franchise intrigues me enough and has enough depth to it that I can make a variety of videos where we can really study that world, something that I'm up for doing in the future of this channel. So as always, if you've made it this far, thank you so much for watching, and please like and subscribe if you want to see more from this channel.